Welcome back to Roundtable Combative,
your favorite new podcast on all things martial arts.
All right.
Yes. There's not that often where I don't feel like the most dangerous person around, but I'm a little bit nervous right now.
You're sitting next to them. So we have with us today Tuhon Tim Waid and Guro. What's your Punong Guro? Blair Sarkiss. Did I pronounce that last name right? Yep.
You better.
Two Pekiti guys, MF guys. Been knowing them for 6 years now. Came in town and we wanted to get a little history background and chat about some edged weapons.
Well, really, when we were first talking about doing this podcast, we wanted to make sure that we didn't just focus on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or anything like that. We wanted to talk about all kind of martial arts. So it's great to finally take an episode away from what.
Absolutely. Something I've been wanting to do too for a while now, but I didn't want to, I want to do it with the right people.
Yes.
And not just me. I couldn't think of two better people here, man. In fact, one of the the second camps I went to, these two guys were knife sparring. And that's when I was like, I want to do that. I really want to look that skilled at it, right? But yeah, man, very skilled guys. So Tim, you're living now in the Philippines, right?
Correct, in Manila, yep.
In Manila, but you come back and forth essentially.
I teach camps and teach seminars.
Okay, and you're originally from Louisiana area, correct?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Where'd you grow up?
Metairie.
In Metairie. Okay. And when did you start your martial arts?
About 12 years old. I was in the Boy Scouts here, and my troop leader was a active duty Marine and started teaching us, and then I started training with Joey and Kona.
Yeah.
Joey. All right.
Yep, Joey. What about you, Blair?
I started later in life. I was in my early 20s, and I started at the University of Illinois.
Okay. And you also do, other than Pekiti, what's the other discipline you do?
So I started in Taekwondo.
Oh, Taekwondo. Okay, awesome. Mm-hmm. And you still do that now? Is that?
I hold a 6-degree black belt, and I have a school in Chicago.
Okay, man. And that's where you are now, Chicago, or?
Yeah, no, I moved down to Houston.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So I got a couple instructors still up there. I moved during COVID. So I moved to be around some family down in Texas. Real happy there.
Right.
I have a couple instructors running my school up there, and I'm looking forward to opening something in Houston.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything in Houston area that's associated with us?
I don't think there's.
It's all toward Dallas and San Antonio, right? There's Austin too, right? Is there Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. I mean, that's a huge city, so that you could definitely capitalize on that.
Yeah.
So how long you been training with Tim?
I started training with Tim in April of 2012.
2012. Did you train FMA before that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was.
So you weren't corrupted.
Well, actually, that's not true. I did attend a school for about 3 months and realized I was never going to really learn in their system. So I did a search, found Tim online, and really just engaged training with him. And I feel like I'm uncorrupted.
Right. You're not tainted by other like a lot of people, and I think that's talking to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn this chime off of my ring. A lot of people that I've talked to in SMF started somewhere else, and we all had the same story as whatever, either we came to a seminar or met somebody who trained here and we're like, hey, this isn't not nearly what we're doing.
I went through the same process myself, so I know exactly what that is.
Right. 100%. So Tim, let's talk about you said you grew up in Metairie. What brought you to Filipino martial arts?
Well, I went into the Marine Corps when I turned 18, and because I like to fight, so I joined the infantry, guaranteed infantry, and actually quit training because once you're trained and in that environment, kind of hard to do a sidekick with a rucksack on your back and a rifle, So, and that was my training up until then. I did some boxing with Joe Ancona, and he was teaching Cook School at the time, so that's where I trained. And I was very fortunate to have a good foundation of training with him. I mean, I really benefited from that. But, again, you fight with weapons first and empty hands last, and a fight may evolve to, all those type of things. And but again, I stopped training, but then when I started to get into leadership, went to combat squad leader school and started training, and you realize that if I'm going to be a professional, if I'm going to be able to lead people in combat, then you have to know everything. You have to have a total skill set of fighting in combat. And I know that's not what, the military, unfortunately, has stopped teaching how to kill the enemy. Now they're teaching them how to, combatives is not killing the enemy. That's the truth. And we weren't teaching that anymore. So that's when I started to look, and I started to do some look at history. And I said, where in the last century, era of modern warfare with firearms, has martial arts been used? Has there been evidence of that being used? And that was in the Philippines in World War II. The most effective guerrilla units that used the bolo, used the edge weapons, were in the Philippines. And in fact, they were equated to a regular army division, the combat power of a regular army division.
There was one, was it American general that said something about that? I remember reading.
General MacArthur.
Okay, yeah. Give me one squad or whatever Filipinos and I'll take over or something. Yeah, I remember reading that somewhere. Can't remember where. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm saying
I saw that the history, and that was the true history of these people were combat effective, actually. So you may know about the history of the Philippines in World War II. It was a protectorate of the U.S. colony, the U.S. at the time. Japanese invaded and took over the islands. Many of the servicemen became guerrilla fighters, guerrilla leaders, and raised up guerrilla armies. But it took a couple of years where they had to ambush Japanese and use Japanese weapons that they could confiscate to engage in combat operations, until later they had submarines come in and deliver arms and ammunition, radios, of course, everything you need to increase their combat effectiveness and outfit them completely. But they really did use the blade in combat. It's really true. They would use limited firearms, set up an ambush position. When the troops would dismount, then they would attack them with bolos and then secure those weapons there. So it's really true. They really did use that side by side with firearms. So, and there's no other evidence of that being used large scale in any other theater or any other, location. So I said, I got to learn this.
Well, and I guess if you think back to it, it's that even before then, with the colonization of the Philippines by the Spaniards and whatnot, they've always been fighting off somebody, right? Fighting for their own self. So it was a culture of fighting. So I guess it's no brainer that they've come to the conclusion or come to very effective techniques, very effective methods to defeat their opponent. So you said you started. Was it first with Pekiti that you started FMA, or
I got married, and my father-in-law actually was a guerrilla fighter, in the northern provinces of the Philippines, and he was under what the group they called Volkman's guerrillas, and so he actually taught me first, and then from there, got out. I was actually going to college back in Dallas, and I started to look for all the different systems. Actually, I got out in the Marine Corps after 4 years, went right back to the Philippines to research for a year, and I was training with all the people in public domain.
Mhm.
And they didn't have what I was looking for, which was somebody that actually knew how to fight with a real sword, real edge weapon. There's a lot of stick fighters out there, and unfortunately, there's a lot of that knowledge been lost. So came back after a year and started looking around in the States, and fortunately was put in touch with Granville Guy. And when you meet him and you see him right away, you'll know that he has that skill set immediately. And he had already been established in the States for 20 years already. So
Okay, so he's been here for 20
Yeah.
years.
since 73, actually.
That's right, 73. Who was some of his students before that? Then when he was here, that American
The most prominent is Tom Bizio, which would
Tom Bizier.
he's now a very renowned Chinese medicine practitioner, and but he had started training in 1975, and he's a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal martial artist. GT brought him over to the Philippines in 1978 for the first Arnis tournament, Filipino martial arts tournament, and they made him co-champion, but he actually really won the event. So. But he was phenomenal. And,
Was there controversy there? Like what happened?
Unfortunately, it was the first time where they started to introduce the headgear and body protection and everything, and you don't need that to learn how to fight effectively. In fact, it's a hindrance. But it was significant. It was the first time they held that. So, and he did win it.
Yeah, the headgear. We'll get more onto that when we'll get delve into the actual sparring and such.
So we're talking about, people's training experience and what's wrong and what's right, and how do you know this? And because this is no joke. I mean, why do we learn how to fight? Well, of course, we learn how to fight because we want to protect ourselves and protect our family. And the reality is that if you don't have the ability to execute lethal force, you don't have the ability to protect yourself. It's true. You could face another lethal force attack and have to protect yourself, and you can't equal that, and you don't have that ability. So, but unfortunately, what has happened since the end of World War II in commercial martial arts, we disarmed ourselves for some reason and started training only empty-hand martial arts. It should never be that way. Historically, all martial arts were trained with weaponry parallel and empty hands because they all came from the weapon.
Right.
So, again, it's not only it's not a mindset, it's simply the correct way of training. You train with a weapon first, which gives you the proper mechanics, and then you go to the empty hands, and then you have the ability to pick up anything and make it a weapon, expedient weapon or improvised weapon.
I think that's what I've run into as far as people who you try to get to come train is they scared of the weapon, right? They don't
Just the opposite.
they just don't want to handle a weapon.
Everybody thinks that weapons training is dangerous, and it's the exact opposite, actually. Think about it. If you pick up a knife, you immediately, if you start to move and strike, you must have your body in alignment, in timing, coordinated, or, you can hurt yourself. But actually, because that's an edge weapon and because it forces you to do that, you will become a master of your mechanics. I mean,
The awareness of your body.
complete. It is the most effective way to develop full range of motion of not only footwork and striking, and coordination, timing, symmetry, everything. There's no other developmental method that will give you that. Sports will not give you that. Put something in your hand, and you must align. When you pick up a knife, you have to have the blade edge alignment to your secondary knuckles, and therefore that aligns everything. So there's no other activity or anything that's going to bring that total development of your body other than the edge weapon.
Well, I know in seminars and camps, you've discussed that before, where your say your number one slash, it's the same as if you're throwing a ball.
Exactly.
You're throwing something. It's biomechanically equivalent to the same thing, same mechanics. Right?
Exactly.
To get the right force, the correct, absolute, most powerful way to do it. And if you're swinging a blade, then yeah, you want to be careful. You want to make sure that you're doing it correctly.
In fact, I taught both professional sports football players and college sports, lacrosse, tennis, football. And again, bring them to the drills of coordinating their hand and feet, because everybody talks about eye-hand coordination, but nobody talks about eye-foot coordination.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we do, because how do you start drilling and applying this in the beginning is what we call time of the hand, time of the foot. When the foot lands, the strike lands, you time that together. And then that's your synchronization. And then when you have that, then you can break that. Then you can strike independently or move independently.
Right. Getting back to Philippines, how long did you live in the Philippines before now? Like when you were first learning and training with GT?
Well, I met him in 1989, and then he had already been moving back to the Philippines, actually. So he was in and out of the U.S., and in 93, he stayed permanently for almost 10 years.
Oh.
So I would go over and train with him once or twice a year, and he would come back to the U.S., and I would have him in the Dallas. But at the same time, I went around literally to every first-generation instructor that was still active in teaching, and to train with them.
I want to Waid it. Yeah.
So when I went around and I made a total commitment to this, because I said that I'm not going to learn this unless I'm learning the authentic system, the real system, because I'm going to be teaching this, and I'm just not going to, I wouldn't be here teaching if I didn't know the authentic system, a real system, and I couldn't transfer that skill to other people.
Yeah.
There's no other way. I would never do that. So I traveled around and learned from all these instructors, and they were all teaching me different things. And it was somewhat similar, but I was not getting the same message. I was not getting the same system. It was their interpretation. Not necessarily, some people, they were malicious. They would tell you you're training Pekiti, and you're not. You're training something else, So, and every time I saw GT, he would correct that. And so after several years, I'm like, if I'm going to learn this, I have to go and train with him personally. So in 1993, I moved back to Philippines for 5 years and had 5 years of private training. So no one else in the system has the private training experience and the length of training with Grand Tuhon. And then 2002, he came back, and we did another 10 plus years of teaching seminars together. So nobody else has that time, in the system. So when I state that this is the authentic system, so what I mean.
And that's what I wanted to ask too, is like, because I've seen online, people complain that you say that. They're like, oh, I don't like the way he calls it the authentic system. So, but they never clarify what they mean, right? They don't like the way he says it's the authentic system, like they're taking it personally that what they're training isn't real, right? What are they getting at as far as what is their complaint per se that you're saying the authentic system? What is the non-authentic system that these other people might be training?
Well, there's a system design. There's a structure of a system. There's 12 methods, and then 3 methods in the advanced system, and you've got 12 methods of footwork. And if you're not teaching by that, if you're not teaching according to that methodology and that structure, then you're not teaching effectively. Unfortunately, today, anybody can go and make their own style and, make their own system. And that's simply the difference between a system and a style. A style is somebody's personal fighting method, whatever they have constructed that to be. A system is scientific, and this system is scientifically formulated. It has a particular structure. It's effective if you teach it like that. So if you're not teaching in that structure, then you're simply not going to be effective. And unfortunately, people think that you can interpret, that systems are here for us to interpret and teach our own way. That is incorrect. Systems don't evolve because they're perfected and they're proven. Why would you change that? You don't. You evolve. Your skill set evolves. The system allows you to continue to train and to improve your skill. And reason why I'm here today is that my message is that you'll never reach a plateau. You will always get better. You will always improve your skill set. It doesn't matter. There's no plateau, and there's no period where you actually see a depreciation of your skill. I mean, GT's 86 years old now. You wouldn't want to mess with him, okay? Because if somebody gets near him and he's a threat, they're going to be taken out. I mean, that skill set never goes away. It never goes away. You just become more precise, and your judgment skills are super precise and super exact.
Yeah, right. So going back to the people who had the problems with the authentic, you saying that it's a general feel online, a lot of places that for whatever reason you have a certain amount of factions of people who just hate you, right? Or they have a misconception. I say misconception because I know you now, but I've had students that came in from other systems, and they've legitimately just straight up asked me, I heard he's an asshole, or he's an arrogant asshole, right? And what I'm getting at is what do you think who these people are? Why do they feel that way, or why do they think that way? Because I've never seen that until after I met you, right? I didn't see all that, and then I'm like, what are they talking about?
That made a lot of sense. You got to validate your training. A lot of people do a lot of training without validation, and sometimes it's going to come in the form of that sparring and full contact and actually going at it.
Right.
So how do y'all approach that when it comes to Pekiti and edge weapons?
And as far as validation,
yes,
I'll let him explain it, because I mean that's one of our main things that we do at our camps and when we train is validation.
Yeah, I told you about before I started jiu-jitsu. I actually did him up before, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we actually used metal weapons and all, but rounded off blades and stuff like that. And actually really tapped each other. So it was fun. So
yeah, well, again, think about it. People today, we have to talk about this in contrast to what's existing today. Whether it's HEMA or whether it's Filipino martial arts or whatever, but how do they validate? They put on a bunch of headgear and then they start whacking each other. And you can't tell who's trained and who's untrained.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to have that when you're fighting. And it's actually a skill debilitator. It actually reduces your skill because you can't see and you can't breathe, and you're not going to have it anyway. So think about it. These systems that were developed for hundreds of years, they never had that. So why would you think that we need this now? I mean, no one ever says that. They didn't need it to develop it, and you don't need it now, because all it is destroying your skill set. Whatever way you train, whatever mechanics, whatever system, it should look like that when you're actually sparring and fighting. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't look something different. People say that, because fighting is ugly. No, you just don't know how to fight. Simple as that. Because I don't care what system you're using, but you have to look like you have to physically execute those mechanics of those systems when you're fighting. But a weapon is meant to first teach you how never to be hit. Yeah. So you're not there to trade strikes. Right. It's never like that. It's very interesting. So I tell people, because of my military training, I'm like, look, there's no training to be shot. There's no training to be stabbed, and you should never train to be hit. It's very simple. And so when I was looking at all of these systems in the beginning, I knew that was wrong, but I didn't know what was right. I didn't know what the right training method was, but I just knew that was wrong. Yeah. These people hitting each other and whacking each other, abandoned, yeah.
Well, you'll see that in competitions quite often. I don't know about as far as Pekiti, if y'all have competitions like that, but in HEMA at first, you would see a lot of double kills going on.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't have the same fear. You know you're not going to die.
Exactly.
Mess up and all that. So.
Exactly. When you have that gear, you have you're not going to get hurt. So you're going to put yourself out there, not worried about getting hit. Well, in reality, if you did that, you would die.
That was actually my first experience. So when I first engaged training with Tim, he about 3 weeks later he held and I went to it really not knowing much of anything, but I was enthusiastic. I was going to do anything, and one of the things we did was borrow the headgear from him, sharing the same gym. And I jumped in there, and it's exactly that. You do things that you would never execute if your head was uncovered.
Right.
So, it is an hindrance. You're talking about a bladed weapon. It's a hindrance because it's a false sense of security that puts you in danger.
Yeah.
So that's not good training methodology.
We still will use a headgear occasionally at a certain time when you start training. When you get up to like advanced intermediate, put the headgear on just so you can prove to yourself that, no one can come into that range. And, as we were training today and sparring, I was explaining that sometimes I will attack my training partner in a way that I wouldn't do tactically, but I'll overextend and go through them and, give them an attack like that just to check their skill set as well. And I have people do that to me as well because, if you're trained, you're not going to make yourself vulnerable. You'll attack in range and in position on time. But we attack in, ways, more direct ways so that you have that skill set as well. But
that also lends itself to actually being attacked by somebody on the street that may not know exactly what to do correctly.
Precisely.
So it's a different strike coming at you from a trained person.
Still dangerous.
Yeah.
Still dangerous, right? You don't want to...
Sometimes more dangerous.
But it might not come from that same angle you're used to.
Right.
Exactly.
More dangerous as well because they don't understand how to protect themselves.
Yes.
Realize the danger they're putting themselves in. So, and they're wild. They do unexpected things.
Damn white belts.
Yep.
Actually, there's a method for that. So after you finish your training, you apply what we call the Ojito method, which means anyway. And even in the during the European what they call it, Masters of Defense in England, but you would actually fight a drunk person. You would actually spar a drunk person and spar.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, you're right. If you do have a structured set of mechanics and you're always delivering that way, then you're not used to someone without that type of training. And if you're not facing that and training against that, then you probably won't be able to deal with it. So go back full circle.
Well, so on the opposite end of that, of the person wielding the weapon, I tell my students that we don't have headgear on, right? So it takes more skill to know you're going to hit something, but refrain from it, right? Because anybody can just swing as hard as they can, just knock the shit out of someone. If you can swing it hard enough and then not hit it, it's more skill, more control.
More, absolutely.
Than just going crazy and swinging as hard as you can, not paying attention if I'm going to hit it or not. I'm just putting it out there, right?
Well, that's the main misconception that keeps people that coming and engaging training is that they think they're going to be hit.
Yeah,
exactly.
In reality, we don't spar. We don't do that unless you have complete control of it.
Right.
Because I don't trust that you're going to move. I better stop my weapon.
Right.
I better be able to stop this.
Well, not only that, but if they're not skilled enough to recognize, even if you stop, they'll run into your weapon. Right. And then you're like, oh, you did that, not me,
The ultimate skill set though is when you spar is that you don't need any protective equipment because number one, if you allow somebody to strike in the range of your head and torso, well, you're done. You're done. You're finished. You don't allow that. And when you do strike to the other, strike to the torso, strike to the arm, it's with control.
Yeah.
But we can. Somebody asking earlier today, they're talking about why we don't pull the strike, we don't stop the strike. That's why you make contact with the weapon full power as you're moving, because if you can do that, then you can hit any target with full power and precision.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already there, but people don't understand that. Think about it. We're not breaking our bodies. We're training ourselves with the proper skill sets to strike with speed, timing, power, accuracy, and precision. But the stick takes the beast, not the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
and this kind of goes back to what we our fundamental program was before when a couple of years ago when I was telling you guys last night, somebody come in for jiu-jitsu and thrown to the wolves and they just get their ass beat, right? Yeah.
That's what happened to us.
And very, like Blair said, very few people will stay.
Yeah.
Right.
Very few people will stay. Because they're not looking for that, right? They're not looking, they've got a brain where, and it's kind of the same thing with us, like if we just went whacking on each other, hurting each other, one, a lot of people wouldn't want to do it. That's what people think. That's why they don't even want to come in. They're like, no, that's not. I've had a lot of my jiu-jitsu guys and they're like, oh no, I don't want to get hit. I think you're not going to get hit. We're training you not to get hit. Otherwise, you will get hit if somebody swings something at you if you don't train, right? But yeah, that's it. Like I said, it goes both ways as far as you with the headgear, giving you a false sense of security, but also if you're a person, your opponent doesn't have headgear and you need to learn how to control. Otherwise, you will smack the shit out of somebody.
We do use gloves sometimes, to come back and again validate the fact that you can, actually, hit that target, hit the moving target, and then you close in and go to the head and the torso. But it has to be from a precision standpoint. It's not just power like a lot of people say it is. Power is not the first. No. Speed is first, then timing, then power. Power comes from whole body striking, whole body movement. But if you use a full power strike and you miss, well, you're open.
Yeah.
So,
and that's I think we said that today at the seminars. What's the glory about edged weapons is it doesn't matter if you got 100-pound woman. If she's skilled, she's still gonna cut somebody up who's 250-pound athlete, right?
absolutely.
She don't need to match his power, his size.
That's what's so wonderful about this system. It's not about your size. It's not about even your age. You can overcome a more athletic younger person, a stronger person, just by your knowledge and skill level.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take very much to pierce the body with the blade.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to jiu-jitsu, right? You're using body position, right? I mean, you can overcome those same natural advantages of a bigger person, and then the trained advantages as well. Their trained skill.
It does have a more sliding scale though with jiu-jitsu, whereas you can be a certain size and still over somebody.
Yeah, that's the principle of math.
Yeah.
The fourth,
Unmatched. I mean, you'd have to go to firearms if you're gonna say something.
No, my taser.
Right.
if you're
Yeah.
the line
Off-
of that thing,
Mhm.
in trouble.
Yeah.
You don't have anything. Whereas the blade moves with you. You are the blade.
And even at a certain point, a firearm might not help much. Because one thing, whenever I'm teaching my police recruits when we're doing defense versus bladed weapons or whatever, is like, even if you shoot somebody coming towards you, they might not die immediately.
Exactly.
They can still close that distance and slice you up before they go down.
Well, and there's many instances of that you see on YouTube. People they still got stabbed. There's one recently I've seen. What was it? He ended up shooting and killing her, but he took some stabs, some blades to him.
Human body's pretty resilient.
The truth of the matter is, and this is what I teach, is that the knife is still the superior weapon in close quarters, over the handgun as well, over the firearm. It can be, if you know how to use it.
Right. Fighting
is the same. Gunfighting, knife fighting, fist fighting, you should be moving and striking.
Yes.
And should never be hit.
Well, this is what I tell people who don't know anything about the system, and which you told us, and you've even given us documents to visually see it, is all warfare, modern warfare stems from the sword, from the blade.
Exactly.
Any of the tactics that they do, cover fire, all this, suppressive fire and everything. You still do the same thing with the sword. It just now they adapted it to new modern weapons, but it's still the same thing that they're doing. And it's interesting to see that, knowing the system and knowing the blade, how you can correlate that to modern warfare, or even not even just a single gun, but a full unit of soldiers, attacking something, where how they use the same tactics from a single person using a sword. It's very interesting.
Well, if you look at even the cavalry manuals for the U.S. Army and other militaries up until right before World War I, when fencing was still practiced, the sword was still practiced primarily with cavalry troops, but you can read these and you can see that why they do it, because it gave them a sense of timing, distance appreciation, and of course the skill of the edge weapon. But from that, you are able to apply any weapon. You're able to use those skill sets, those judgment skills with any weapon. It's in black and white. I mean, they knew that. But unfortunately, as it continues today, more technology comes in and people think that it replaces a weapon or it replaces a need for a particular skill, like land navigation, use a GPS instead. Right? You better know how to read a map. You know? That never goes away. You better know how to use a map and compass.
Compass, yes.
Yeah. But people will rely on these technologies and then, think that they're not necessary anymore. And so unfortunately, again, today, the military doesn't understand what they've lost through the use of the sword and the knife and the bayonet. It's not the spirit of the bayonet. It's a real method of bayonet to how you kill somebody. In World War II, it's very simple. They weren't teaching any knife defense. They said, this is a knife and this is where you thrust with it to kill the enemy. That's better than any defense motion or action or whatever. We don't even worry about that. You're using it on an offensive manner. So that's unfortunately, the state of affairs today.
Well, and I think that goes for everything, not just martial arts, but as a society, people rely too much on modern technology and they forget the older things that worked, right?
Wow. So, yeah, people think food comes from a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
That should be coming out of your garden, but how many people actually?
Yeah.
In fact, here's the still modern day validation, but General Patton, everybody knows who Patton is, right? He's an asshole too, actually. A lot of people didn't like him.
So you're in great company.
Yes. He's one of my grandfathers, man, one of my spirit grandfathers. I actually went to his grave and he's buried in Luxembourg, and so I got a picture of me saluting him there. So, yeah. But he actually, he was a swordsman. He competed in the Olympics, actually. And he actually trained with several other swordsmen of French Army and English during the time he was coming up from a lieutenant. And, he actually created a last cavalry saber that the U.S. Army adopted.
Oh, okay.
But what he says, and it's really true, he says, in order to close with the enemy, to bridge, goes from long range to close quarter, that skill is only developed by cold steel. Because when you have the blade, you will close. You have to close. Yes. So if you have that skill, you will have that skill with any other weapon. And in fact, right before, this after the war had already started, but before he went to Africa, he made a recommendation to the infantry board of the Army saying that you do not get rid of the bayonet. And he proposed 3 different model designs for bayonets. Actually, they were short swords. And but absolutely, he says that cold steel is the only thing that will make men close, and that's true. So if you know how to use the knife, one of the best compliments I ever got from training was I teaching a unit deploying to Afghanistan years ago, about 2011, and sergeant came up to me and said, "This is why I joined the Army. Now I know I can kill the enemy." I said, "That's exactly right. When you know how to use a knife, no matter what happens, you'll still be able to go close quarters with the enemy and still kill them, prevent yourself from being taken prisoner. It will save your life no matter what."
That's one thing whenever I was overseas in the Marine Corps. I carried 2 K-bars with me, and I said if I ever ran out of bullets, I'm not going to be a prisoner.
Absolutely.
I'll go down fighting. I'm going to stab somebody. But
But we talking about that, I forget who this conversation was, but even military now, like you said, once they lose their weapon, their gun, there's not much skill they're taught unless they seek it elsewhere outside of their training.
Yeah.
Just like police officers. We said that.
So I got them for 1 week of ground fighting, 1 week of that includes defending punches, kicks, and stuff like that, and throwing that offense back, handcuffs, batons, and all that. But that's all they get. They don't get any kind of edge blade weapon training.
Well, and not only that, but just what you're saying is that's kind of scary. That's
they get 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks of training of hand-to-hand combat, right?
Yeah.
And then they go off into the world and
So I got very comfortable this last week saying, and for $99 a month.
So Yeah, built-in clientele advertising there. What you're going to say, Blair?
I was just going to say that's a dereliction of our duty and responsibility to our law enforcement.
Yeah.
It is a sad time when I watch those videos of guys that are backing up when they see somebody drawing on them or doing, when I know you should be closing that distance. You wouldn't have been shot, wouldn't have had something bad happen to him if you just understood how to deal with a weapon. And they don't get that training. Just sad. Those guys are putting their lives out for us every single day. Just not right.
Yeah, all the officers that we have at our gym, they do so on their own dime.
Yeah.
Right. And it's
ridiculous. Shame.
Well, we can talk about that. That's a interesting subject, is looking at the training methodology today. Of course, it's unfortunately everybody knows that offense is the best defense, but nobody's teaching that. In fact, the most martial arts teaching is counter-offense. You have to be attacked first to do whatever technique that is. So very simply, fortunately, my Marine Corps training, again, it gave me a tactical understanding of what the truth is of how to fight. So I would frequently ask people to come and train with me. I'm like, okay, what's your background and so forth. And I said, I would simply say, well, show me an attack me. And many of them couldn't, because it's the first time they actually know how to strike, but they don't know how to attack, because they were never taught that way. Because most systems, it's all counter-offense.
Right.
And so you can use that one. Yeah, I should just you can show me an attack and or attack me.
Well, if you look online on all the videos and stuff on YouTube, it's almost always how to defend against this,
of course,
how to defend against that, how to do, it's already setting up. Don't get me wrong. There's value in some of the training that you're doing, right? They're showing, but the mindset should be not, like you always say, not sitting there and defending something.
You attack the attack. Exactly, attack the attack. And unfortunately, though, we're completely reactive. I mean, that's training methodology, the reactionary gap. I'm not reacting to anything because I can judge the actions of the threat. If whatever they're doing, I can judge that timing, distance, and the pattern, the mechanics, whatever their angle they're attacking me with, and I can attack that.
Yeah. So instead of a reactionary gap, you got your attack range. They're within the attack range.
Yeah. We call that the bridge.
Yeah.
I'm crossing it, you're not. You can start, but I'm going to finish it.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be reacting. And
what's funny is you're saying all this, and there's a lot of people who do FMA. You just by the way they're sparring, you tell they don't understand this. They don't realize that, and that criticize when they see us spar. Right, you're telling the truth, right? You're not bullshitting, right? You see exactly what you're saying is happening,
everything,
right? And once you train with you guys, you feel how stupid you are, right? And I'm like, oh fuck, he did see that. Blair's one that he looks kind of lazy, like he looks like he's bored when he's sparring sometimes, right? Like this bastard, at least look a little bit enthused to be, but yeah. So the reason I'm kind of reiterating that is I really think people don't understand that you're really telling the truth. Like you really see that, right? Somebody's attacking you. I see that, so I'm attacking.
Exactly.
I'm not reacting to it, right? I'm going to go toward that, right? And you're going to go toward it in a specific timing, concise timing in angles to defeat it, right?
If the skill set is developed by the sword, by the long weapon, you can actually see it. That's why you're, and it is an additional threat, not like the empty hands. You get attacked empty-handed, you're not gonna, you're not gonna die. I mean, you could, hit your head on the pavement and die, but you're not gonna die from the punch. But a knife and a sword are different things. You will move immediately, no matter what. If you think you can't move, you will. Once I throw that sword at you, so immediately you will see that, and so that of course begins the ability to recognize patterns, recognize motions, and you simply go through the whole range of mechanics of the human body. So there's nothing, once you finish training or start training, there's nothing that you're not going to see and appreciate. And again, you're judging it by distance and timing, which is the formula for effectiveness for anything, any physical activity. It has to be at the right range at the right time. And you have to, when you're close, you have to have that correct pattern recognition so that you can interact with it appropriately.
Right.
But that all comes from the weapon. And, that's the fastest way to develop that. So unfortunately, you see a lot of people, well, law enforcement, sometimes there's some shootings where, the bad shooting, if you will, they thought there was a threat, a handgun in the hand, and, it wasn't, it was something else. If you train this, you wouldn't, you would be confident that you could have enough time to see their motion and see what's in the hand and still move and, use the appropriate level of force. I mean, that's a critical skill. It's a critical skill.
Well, not only that, when we train the way we do, or train that spar, we get used to that adrenaline. So when something happens like that, right, that's what happens. When if somebody, you're in the street and somebody pulls a gun or weapon, your adrenaline's going and you just attack. You don't realize, you don't see it.
Right.
But just like jiu-jitsu, when you get a new white belt in, they're worn out in the first 2 minutes because their adrenaline's gone.
Yes.
Adrenaline done, right? And the longer you grapple, the longer you stay, you're practically just taking a nap when you grappling somebody who has no skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing, right? Because you're used to it. And if you don't train that way, then you'll never get used to it.
Well, that's actually one of the great benefits of the methodology that is used to train a bladed weapon. You're going in regular sparring session, you're going 70 to 80% at full speed. So you're tracking a weapon that's moving at 100 miles an hour. When you're doing that on a regular basis, punch or a movement from the waistband looks kind of slow. You got plenty of time to react. It's a big difference. So training, I mean, every training methodology is supposed to prepare you for that combat chaos situation. And training to fight with a bladed weapon is definitely a very focused place in your mind and at a very high rate of speed.
Yeah.
Hard to beat that.
And the science behind this is that there are two visions that we use. We use our focus vision, which means we're looking at the hand always. And that's always what you do. You look at the hands because the hands are going to have the threat, right? Always look at the hands first. Your focus vision is on the hands and your peripheral is on the torso. And then later, when you develop that skill set, you'll actually see the direction of their movement with their feet. Left or right, doesn't matter. But you're using two visions, actually. Your focus vision is always on the hands. If you don't look at the hands, you will be hit.
Yeah.
The hands are critical, okay? Not only for a decision-making purpose, right? Whether they have a threat, what type of weapon they have, but also because again, that's how you're judging the distance of between you and the opponent. It is actually from the hand. It's not the length of the weapon actually, but it's always from the hand. At the same time, your peripheral vision is judging their movement of the body, because you could go one direction and strike from the other. So you see everything. There's nothing that you don't appreciate and you don't see. And but what are the training methods today? Most people say, well, you kind of look around center chest, right? So you can kind of see everything. It really doesn't work.
No.
So it's very sophisticated, very effective, and it's that's the skill set. You can see everything.
At camps, like if you're going with somebody sparring and you'll stop and you say, "Y'all saw that?" And like, you're like, "Fuck no, we didn't see that."
You're focusing in the wrong place.
I remember the first ever camp I went to. I did something good, right? And you said, "Oh, did you see that?" And I was like, "No,
I didn't see it."
I said, "I can't replicate it because I have no idea what you're talking about."
Well, there's a process to that as well. So as you train and you're starting to fight, and you like for instance, if I'm private training somebody and they get a good shot, I'll say, what did you do?
Yeah.
So
I've had that
yeah,
question.
that's right. What you do? Sometimes you don't really remember because you came with multiple strikes. I said, what'd you do? When they get a little bit better, I'll say, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Because when you're at that level, you actually will see, you'll see the strike before that set up the hit that, the opponent, right? Hit your partner. You'll see the strike before, which is important because that's actually where you change the timing and change the distance into the effective range.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you were saying too, once, is that it's not the strike that got you.
So
It's the one before it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what sets the time and the distance. Exactly. And then at the highest level, I'll ask you, why'd you do that? Because now you're going to be able to tell me, well, I pushed you here, or I quartered you here, I forced you over here, and then I struck here. You can see the sequence of strikes now, not just the 1 and the 2 and the 3.
Well, that's the pattern recognition.
Exactly. So, I mean, that is exactly how, and that's the validation process. When you can answer those questions,
right?
That's how you know that you have that skill. First, you see the first strike. Oh, maybe, did you see that? What'd you do? I don't know. Well, keep on fighting. Let's go. Do it again. Okay. Until you see that just that one strike. Then you'll see the strike before, and then you'll see the entire engagement, how you set that up, your entire bridge, the complete attack, how you control the opponent, control the fight.
Just to interject something there. I think that's why they hate him, call him arrogant, think he's an asshole, because nobody else has the skill to do that.
100%.
So they don't believe that it's possible.
Right. If they can't do it, then nobody can do it.
They've never seen it. They don't know how to do it. So they think it's impossible. And they think that's arrogant. And unfortunately, they don't actually have the humility to come and engage with us. Because we're not there to make anybody humiliated or feel bad. We want to train with people. If you have skill, come and teach us. Show us what you're doing. But they don't have
it's pride and ego.
Yeah, they don't have it in them to just come and say, let's learn something new. In fact, we've had people come in, realize that what we do is superior to what they've been training, but they can't let it go and they go back to what they're doing, even though they know this training method is superior.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's something that we also use in jiu-jitsu as well. We always wondered how Darren was always like 5 or 6 moves ahead of us and he knew what we were going to do beforehand. And now I'm starting to see it when I'm going against white belts and blue belts. And I was like, all right, in about 3 moves, we're going to be at this point in time now. And it's great to go for this attack.
You can just anticipate what they're going to do.
Yes. We'll do that to Remy Tunes coming up soon.
So he's got a super fight coming up with this guy, Remy Toops. And they're talking shit online back and forth, really.
He just picked the wrong person.
It's all fun and games ish. But yeah.
Well, if I could add something to that, I mean, I'm an honest person. I mean, I have professional ethics. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I'm here. I mean, I'm teaching this so people can develop themselves completely, mentally, physically, morally, and be able to protect themselves. Because as Dr. Peterson says, you have to be dangerous to be virtuous. That's true.
Yeah.
You have no power as an individual.
You can't be virtuous if you're not dangerous.
Exactly. My purpose is to give the people ability to truly protect themselves because it's empowering.
Yeah.
And so, what stops a bad person willing to be violent? A good person willing to be more violent.
More violent.
Exactly.
More violent.
Trained. Yeah.
And everybody has it in them. Those of us that embrace it, and those of us that deny it. Denying that part of yourself is not going to be good for you. It's better to develop it, control it, direct it, and therefore enjoy your life.
Yeah. Right.
Martial arts is the superior method of developing yourself, developing a human individual. The more fit you are, the more academically excelled you're going to be. It's as simple as that. It's always been that way. We used to train ourselves that way until our turn of the century. And then unfortunately sports took over and we lost that process. We lost it entirely. So not a good thing.
Yeah. So we're talking about the military. So now you're kind of switching gears, you're training in the Philippines some military groups now again?
Yep. I've been doing that since 1998.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually reintroduced Filipino martial arts to the Armed Forces of the Philippines in 1998. I did at the Force Recon Battalion of the Philippine Marine Corps, we did a 6-month instructor development program. And because they had actually had a couple of Marines stabbed by off base, and they were looking for about 3 years for a program that, really taught it, real protection, real fighting.
Yeah.
And there was some sports arnis, some sports FMA around, but they already looked at that and they said, it's not going to work.
Right.
And fortunately, I was put in contact with the commanding officer through a friend of mine, and I got a contract in 1 hour.
Really?
Nice.
Because
And this is 98? You talking?
98, yeah. Of course, you have to have a tactical education, understand how, armed forces work, how combat units work, and just don't go in there and teach them a bunch of double stick stuff.
Yeah, right,
Got to be applicable to the operation.
It's got to be applicable real fast.
Yeah.
Right?
How you carry weaponry, of course, all of that. So that started in 1998. I'd been training in the Philippine National Police before that for several years as well. So, and then from then, I started to engage and teach other militaries, different countries around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know you're doing which Special Forces, Marine Special Forces right now. Which Snooki? He's been releasing videos every now and then. And you're with his daughters and training these guys.
Working with Naval Special Warfare over there now.
That's it.
Primarily. And still with the Marines and Army as well. Different units.
Right. To what extent do they train? Just like additional, I guess, like additional training that they receive, or is something that they do rotational?
Unfortunately, over the years, it's the quality of the training is deteriorated, but it's still taught in basic school and boot camp. So
Have they added more Pekiti into McMap or?
no, well, Pekiti is actually the official Marine Corps martial arts system. Actually, the system that I introduced, it was adopted by the Marine Corps in 2002. Actually,
Okay.
so it was adopted by the Recon Battalion in '98, and in 2002 by the entire Marine Corps. But the quality of instruction, again, how it is. Commanding officers change, and they want to introduce their own, programs, their own training programs, and so forth. And sometimes, there's been a deliberate attempt to change those type of things. But
Yeah, I think McMap came out about 2002 as well. I was in from 2000 to 2005, and our knife training basically was stab them in the neck, twist X, come out this side, stab them back, twist X. So trying to make an X across their neck.
Mm-hmm. So that 98, I remember one of the first videos I've seen was somebody did a re-edit of one of your videos. If you remember that, and it was the
something elbow,
yeah, what was it? I can't remember. It was cleverly done. It was funny. Don't get me wrong. It was funny, but everything was taken out of context. You know what I'm talking about?
What's so interesting is that that's when I had my DVD store. I had my DVDs online, and every time they did that, I'm like, please do that again, because I always get great sales from that. I mean, I got a lot of shit thrown at me,
I
but
think Tim did that.
Paid somebody.
please do that again. Please do that again.
Man, just recently, I remember there was a guy talking shit in one of the FMA discussion groups saying, what did he say? Talking bad about you. But he's one of the people that's learning from you in that video. I remember you told me. I can't remember the name now, but he was, in the comments section, and he was talking because it was actually because it was I posted the video of you and Snooki talking about I think it was Filipino History Month or something like that, and you're talking about the military, and this guy comes in and he's talking crap about it. I'm like, so what are you talking? You know what? Go about your own business. And I sent you the message, and he's like, hey, I got receipts. I got this guy on video in learning from us
Oh.
in that thing. And now then he's trying to take over and saying he learned it before that, this and that.
And an unfortunate well, it's just a state of affairs today, right? I mean, anybody can make themselves out to be anything now on the internet, right?
Yeah, if you know how to sell it,
Just ignore these people.
you can be good.
I mean, Ameridote is pretty good. He does great with it. I seen a knife defense from him the other day.
Yeah. A couple of people sent me that one. There was another one where he caught it with his neck.
Yeah.
So you're being not Filipino heritage. Like, does that seem? Does Filipinos kind of take that as like who's this guy? He's not Filipino. Why is he such a whatever in the system?
There's always one or two of those.
Always,
Yeah. But
I guess once they actually,
unless you can back it up, unless you can show something better, then
right. I guess once people actually trained, if they trained with you or sparred with you, then you're like, okay, I gotta shut up.
that's not a that wasn't never really a problem.
No. Okay, because I know Filipinos in general can be very tribal.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, yes. If you've ever been on a Navy ship before, there's a Filipino table,
Yeah.
and you don't sit there.
Even within the Filipino community, like this faction of Filipinos don't like this faction of Filipinos.
Do y'all have a term for white people, like Spanish, Hispanic people have gringos, or?
I don't think so. Do I'm asking Tim because he's like a white guy.
They're more.
He would know, right?
He's the Filipino here.
I've never heard of anything.
No.
I've never heard of anything. Yeah.
Well, then maybe they just say the man knows what he's talking about. Let's listen.
They're just nice people.
Yeah.
I tell people that actually Filipinos are the nicest people in Asia until they want to kill you,
So say they're the nicest people until they're not.
and you can go a long way to that point where they'll be nice to you, and then you'll be dead. That's it.
No explanation.
It's really true. It's really
Although I've known some that had the shortest fuse. My dad in particular.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I mean he's nice with his age now, but yeah, when he was younger, he was like, I mean he's pulled machetes, on guests. He's challenged like in the business setting, he disagreement, and he said, "I got 2 guns in the trunk, we're gonna duel." In a business setting, they're where they're like, "Oh fuck, is this guy serious?" Yeah. Yeah, he's crazy.
When I moved to Bacolod City with Franjone, and we were in Manila for about 6 months, and then went to Bacolod for a couple of years. We were at the hospital visiting one of his friends, and they rolled in a gentleman and his son. They had just got finished having a bolo fight with some people up in the hills, and they had killed 6 of them. So it still happens. I mean, they still settle disputes that way, and
Right.
it's
Well, that's I think it was you or somebody. The older guys, show their pride or show their shirts high,
in
right? So you can see
stab wounds.
Right?
That's right.
That's how they represent. I'm the tough motherfucker here.
That's right. That's in Tondo. That was in Tondo. Yeah.
So what's your vision now for the future of the organization of pushing FMA or Pekiti SMF, getting it out there? I know you're working on a new avenues or new website or new things to kind of to teach it.
Right. Well, bringing everything online, of course, and making it more accessible to everybody, around the globe, and but bringing back the understanding of what we call the physical culture practices, which means how to actually develop yourself to be just an effective, high performance person, to do everything well, because there's a methodology to that, and that's through martial arts. You have the ability to develop your mechanics that are universal, symmetrical. There's no strong side, weak side. We should be training ourselves to be ambidextrous, be able to move and strike in any direction at any time with either hand, either foot. That's totality of the skill set.
Yep. At any time one side can be damaged, and you have to use the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you don't know how to use it, then then you don't. Then you're screwed, right?
That's one thing we actually do with police officers. We try to teach them how to draw, even though the weapon's way over here with their opposite hand in case something happens.
Something happens.
Disarm. You're still in the fight. Yeah.
Like, right.
Hey, you're still in the fight. Your job's to win. That's it.
Or that arm's tied up.
Yeah.
You know, not damaged, but tied up with something, with someone.
It's possible.
And then to tell people that, of course, you know, you don't learn 5 years of empty hand fighting and then go to weapons. No, it's the opposite. Weapons is the training tool to develop the whole skill set. And then you can use every type of implement properly. Mm-hmm. The sword allows you to use anything that you hold in your hand. You will use with greater dexterity, greater control, greater precision than just repetition training of whatever that you're doing. The sword actually develops all of that. Even a lot of people know how to shoot, but they don't know how to gunfight. They don't actually know how to engage a threat, and they don't understand that you shoot from the whole body, actually, not from a stance. Okay? So the skill set with the sword, again, develops all of that. The ability to be able to manipulate a firearm properly and understand the ergonomics and shoot from a whole body position. That's what's important.
Well, the blade puts you on target for the right, your target. Right? I'm going through a firearm certification course, and part of it is the draw, fundamentals of drawing and stuff like that, and it's exactly what we do. When we do a strike, we're not saying that's it, right? I'm on target. It's natural. It comes natural because we drill it. And same thing with the firearms. You shouldn't have to I got it, right? But there's a lot of correlation there, and you've discussed that in I think Tampa last year about the firearms and your natural aim is much better if you learn the blade.
Absolutely,
geometry of the blade,
control, the sensitivity of the weapon, trigger control, even it's all learned by utilizing the weaponry. Mm-hmm. When I really learned how to shoot, I realized, it was after I'd been to a lot of shooting courses, and I shot okay, but I always said that regardless, I'm going to win by tactics. I'm going to win by how I shoot and move.
Yeah.
And then I trained with a gentleman called Len Baxley, and actually taught the correct method of trigger control. So everybody does the trigger reset. Yeah. In reality, it's the opposite. You shoot by taking the slack out and then firing and then releasing and going back to slack out. Because trigger reset is a negative energy. Mm-hmm. So when you fire and now you're trying to use the sensitivity in your finger to reset the trigger, that's a negative energy going forward. It's actually the opposite to what you're actually doing because you're moving forward. The trigger control is actually in the positive energy of hitting the wall, taking the slack out, and then firing, and then releasing, and then coming back. The slack.
Yep. That's exactly what the course that I'm on is emphasized, because not only that, it speeds up your shooting. If you got to get multiple rounds out,
well, if you're just worrying about just getting a trigger reset, that takes time anyway, and practice. Is it there? Is it there? Some other click, instead of going out and then back in.
So if you know body mechanics and you know sensitivity, that's the way you control it to a positive energy, positive sensitivity, not to the negative. So, but why was that adopted? Well, because they're thinking, what's the shortest, the mechanics to reset it? Why would I need to release the trigger all the way if I only need to release it, certain range of motion? But it doesn't work because many people will misfire their weapons, and because you can learn any skill like that and become proficient, but that requires shooting all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have this method, the slack out method, you can pick up any gun and feel the slack of the trigger and shoot it effectively.
Well, it gets you. It's easier to get off aim when you let it out all the way. Quicker on target, and the difference between accuracy and precision, right? especially if you're not going for precision, but you just try to get those rounds.
And a body.
So, yeah. Doce methodos, right? This is what our system based off also doce methodos, which going back to when we were talking about authentic Pekiti Trisha. I know there's other people who have what is it called? Tri-V, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was something developed later. It basically was developed after to suit something else or to make it easier or to make it a different way of teaching it.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So here's the real story, and this is the truth. Grant Tuhon's been teaching since 1972 in the U.S. and for many decades. And unfortunately, not many people actually dedicated the time to actually study and train and develop themselves. So he just got tired of teaching this, investing his time in teaching this system, and then people not training and developing themselves. And
they didn't put their effort into it.
Yeah, I mean, he's that's why he started teaching this Tri-V thing, because it's nothing actually. It's not even. It's a lot of the. It's simply not the system. And but again, we would come back to the same schools year after year after year, and they were not training. They were not trying to improve and make their skill set better. So
meaning you would go to that school and then teach them stuff, go around, come back, and they hadn't developed any further.
Yeah, exactly. So for whatever reason, but he just got tired of teaching the system and investing their time with people who are not serious. So that's why he created that. But it's not Pekiti. It's not tactically correct. It's not a condensed course, advanced course, or whatever people are saying. It's
it's a here, you lazy people.
Yeah, take here. It is. It's exactly it.
What I'm seeing is it's a different way to give them something else that was a little easier per se, or easier to learn. I mean, I just don't see why now that you're telling us, right? Why would you not want to just learn, do the system?
Exactly. I've never figured that out. But I've got a good friend of mine, and he's an instructor in the organization. He's a DEA agent, and he said it perfectly. He says that these people just don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. If you're not going to train, if you're not going to commit yourself to it,
right,
then you just don't deserve to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as simple as
no use putting your time and effort.
Yeah, exactly.
To share something that you're passionate about to somebody who's not going to fucking bother with it.
Yo, my mom money.
Shadow your mom a lot of money. Swear jar.
Our philosophy is life, health, success, because life is important. That's it. Life is supreme. I mean, this is why we're doing this. We're enjoying ourselves, by the way. We're having a really good time training ourselves, and because it's just physical fitness at the same time. I don't have to go to the gym and do all these other type of things. I do some supplemental training, but I'm in shape, and my longevity is through this system for sure. So, and of course, life, we can protect our life. We can protect the lives of others.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reason why it's a science and an art. And again, people don't understand that there's a scientific method to this system. What is art? Art is the effective application. It is the effective performance of any system. Art is not, well, I just do this for the art. I have no idea what that is. That's not true.
Yeah, you hear that.
If you're fighting, if you're executing a fighting art, then you need to know how to fight for real. You need to be able to apply that effectively.
Application.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my problems with a lot of FMA that you see online. They show drills, they show forms, they show things, totally leave out the application, right? And then it gives the misconception to people who don't know anything that this is how they do it. And then other people who, like you say before, I know this is not, I don't know if this is right, but I know that's not right? I don't know how to do this, but I know that's. So some other people are like, oh, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Well, yeah, I mean, because it's not the application of it. Right?
Well, going back to that system, just to show you the science behind it, there's 12 methods. The first 3 are behind timing, because when you're new, you don't know anything about timing.
Yeah.
You're going to be behind time.
Right.
So It gives you the methods to protect yourself first. Then it goes to equal timing, 4, 5, and 6. And then 7, 8, and 9 are ahead of time. To use those manipulations, those types of attacks, you have to be ahead of time. So I never saw that in any other system, and still haven't in any other of the systems where it's scientifically laid out by a process like that, by a progression. And that's true. That's the way you learn how to fight. You're going to be behind time. Then you equal it, then you get ahead. And then what do? You always put yourself behind in timing in training so that you can continue to sharpen your judgment skills. I'll let people attack me first, but I'll still be the one to strike first.
Right.
So you prove to yourself again all of your judgment skills.
You put yourself in the bad situation. And we do that in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when it's young, lower belts,
You start off in the worst case scenario.
you want to let them work. Right.
Yep.
You don't want to, because you don't want to just dominate, and then they go home
like what was done to us.
These guys are assholes. But yeah, that's. I remember you saying a long time ago. You said the more you progress in the system, you won't be using them.
Exactly.
Yes. You just don't be using them because
Go
you're
away.
attacking.
Exactly. Same thing with the distance. There are specific ranges. There's long range, there's close range, and extreme close quarters, which is the grappling, pummeling, grappling, trapping, clinching. We have that as well. But actually, if you look again, just look at history and look at the cultures around the world. Every culture had some type of wrestling.
Yeah.
Every culture. That was like the football. It was the contact sport of the day. You learned balance. You learned, how to deal with another person in close quarter.
Yeah.
And then you went to weapons because, again, if you have a weapon, you go weapon to weapon fighting, it could go to grappling.
Yeah.
It doesn't go to kicking and punching, actually, because you will lose your arm or leg.
Right.
But it will go to grappling.
Well, that grappling, you're trying to take the weapon from them,
Exactly.
disarm them, and use it back.
Disarming is simply a system of locking.
Yeah.
You disarm the weapon, you take the weapon away. I can still apply those disarms to lock you.
Yes.
The anatomy is still there. So we actually, and that's, again, a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, martial arts was taught as an entire skill set. It wasn't, I go here for this, there for that.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like that.
I usually always try to explain what I'm teaching in scientific words and ways and all this stuff. And I tell people all the time, especially my police recruits and our students at the gym, that a lot of people think that martial artists are a bunch of meatheads and all that stuff. And like, what's this guy? What does he know and all that? But truthfully, if you think about it, a martial art has to understand the anatomy of the body, what the body's capable of doing, why it works like that, and how to stop it from working like that. Then you have to understand geometry, changing your angles, because you never want to just stay right in front. You always want to move, cut off angle, create a better angle to eventually physics applying force and understanding the timing of that.
Right.
So
While someone else is trying to pound you.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
While somebody else that is thinking that same process is trying to do something. Exactly.
Yeah. That's where you're skilled. And you say that's the definition, or that's what real martial arts, true martial arts do.
Yeah.
We're playing deadly chess. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're playing deadly chess.
Mm-hmm.
And we're training to, again, we're training to finish the fight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Again, I was talking about that today. A lot of people, they don't understand the training method is that you exchange back and forth with your training partner. That's why you're sparring. That's why you're rolling. But in the real fight, you finish it.
Yeah.
You attack and
Right.
you finish.
Right.
If you're not doing that also in your practice, in your sparring, if that's not the objective, then that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I told, we had a camp, it was here actually a couple of years ago, and we were all, the third day of every camp we spar, and because it's the validation time. And I was looking around and I just like, something's not right. And so I talked to some people afterwards, because I usually talk to people that come to the camp and talk about, what I saw and give them some tips on development and so forth. But I realized that they weren't trying to kill me, because I'm trying to kill you. When I'm sparring you, I am trying to kill you, and I will. That has to be your focus. Of course, we have the control, but, we also have a lot of good time while we're sparring, right? So, and you can hear us, and, we compliment each other every time we get a shot and, dominate that person. I mean, and sometimes we ask, how'd you do that? And give a high five and so forth. I mean, we're really having a really good time. but I'm trying to kill you. And that mental focus has to be there.
Yes.
And we even use a method for that. When I say pull the trigger, bang, you go. I mean, that's it. I'm on, and you're not taking another step. I'm going to close and finish you.
Yeah.
But if you don't apply that in sparring, you're not going to have that ability. But I had to remind everybody that they should be trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to kill them. Some people take offense to that. We're like, are you kidding me, man? We're having a great time here. But I am.
What you're not going to have designed to do right here.
Exactly. But that again, well, you know, it is. I mean, we do. We congratulate each other. We're having a better time than anybody else training. I can tell you that. That's for sure.
I don't know how to explain it, but it is when you're exchanging, right? And you're getting, you see yourself progressing, right? And you get those little highs. It's like a little fix. That's good. And then you're fucking drenching sweat. Right.
Absolutely.
The thing to do is when you have been in a camp, trained with someone, and come back 3 or 4 months later and they've improved.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because their skill actually is making you better.
Yeah.
When it's harder to kill you,
yeah,
it's more fun.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. That I like this. I like that when it happens with my students. Right.
Yeah.
And I see that as like, holy shit. I feel like, oh, I accomplished it. Finally accomplished it, right? I'm finally doing my job.
You get that validation as an instructor too, whenever you're going for something and all of a sudden it's like, all right, yep. So what I'm teaching is working. Therefore, you know, it gives you more confidence next time you got to teach it to somebody new.
That is the validation of a great teacher, is the improvement of students, which in turn improves your own skill.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're all teachers here.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be the student where there's one instructor and the instructor's attention is divided between 10 students. But if you're looking at teaching the right way, you got 10 students out there all pouring into you.
Yep. Right.
And so that pyramid flips over, and that's why you have to engage in teaching if you want to master it.
Yeah.
Because every single person understands you differently. You got to explain yourself differently to them. They bring different skill levels and challenges that you have to learn how to teach.
Yes. And you really have to understand the techniques you're teaching.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. You got to, there's a lot of things that we call in jiu-jitsu invisible jiu-jitsu. It's things that you don't really see, but it's happening. And you got to be able to point that out to people. It's like, look, this is what really makes this technique work. The small little thing right here. So,
and you got to deal with all those different persons.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we got some. Love you, Roland.
Teaching is the mastery process. Like I was saying earlier, we're teaching everybody to be an instructor.
Yeah.
They may not have that desire, but, you know, as I tell everybody, immediately, I mean, you have a responsibility to teach your children how to be physically fit, move their body properly, proper posture, all of this, and then how to protect themselves as well. Because, if you're in the world, you are going to meet some type of aggression throughout your life. Yeah. No doubt about it. And if you don't prepare your children, then, that's on you. That's a responsibility as a parent.
You don't want to raise victims.
Exactly.
Actually, that whole teaching that's one of the reasons why I came to Pekiti. Of course, I did some research, found Tim, was really impressed with what I saw, but then continued to research, saw Grand Tuhon, some of his old videos where he was describing what he does. He said, I don't claim to be the best, but I can teach the technique.
Yeah.
And then it was teach to learn and learn to teach. And you can't go wrong as an instructor if you're following that.
And see, that was his practice throughout his entire time. He would tell people, you can start teaching right away, because, and I tell people, you want to commit to learning the system, as long as you follow the system, I am 100% confident you'll teach correctly, because the system is true. It's a perfected system. Yeah. You don't deviate from that. You can have a different approach to how you articulate something. Yeah. That's always going to change. It's always going to improve.
Right.
But as long as you are adhering to the tactics of the system, and each of the methods is actually a tactic. So if you're teaching in that method, identifying the tactic, showing the training method, and then validating it through sparring, you're going to be effective. But, I don't care if you have no martial arts experience. You can come in and join and start training and start teaching, because that's the mastery process. Same thing with, we were talking about training earlier today, and people talk about validation and sparring. You have to look at it from the military method, from the military perspective. Training to be effective can't destroy your troops, can't destroy the people. You train people to go out and fight. You train people to be effective and fight, not train to have them go recuperate in the hospital.
Yeah.
So, injuries, we don't suffer any injuries because we have the right training method, and you're always striking and moving with precision. But you know what force is. I mean, we know what force is.
Right.
But again, it's this whole thing about, you got to beat up to learn how to fight, and or you see the practice, you see the sparring where people are just coming out, severely injured for no reason.
Well, this is what kind of aggravates me. Well, not to say aggravates me, but after joining and learning with this group, it kind of ruined my perception of other like, if I see anything, I'm like, what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, it's either they're clashing in mutual contact, mutual destruction, or they're staying out and not using the actual methods to engage, right? And you're just trying to hit one shot, trying to hit them, and not bridging and engaging. And you see almost every sparring video you see of Filipino martial arts is one of those, one or the others, unfortunately. Unless you come across an SMF video, right? And I hate saying that because it sounds arrogant, like, we're doing it the right way, but not to say we're doing the right, we are doing the right way, but it's more or less saying we're actually applying the system, right? Nobody else is applying the system. They learn all these things in their system. Yeah, we're applying that. These people learn these different things, but then they don't apply them when they're actually application. Of course, right? That's what I don't understand. Why are they training that?
I think it's a little different when you're talking about bladed combat as well. If you're going out there and purporting to teach people how to use a blade, and you are combat effective, but you don't really know how to fight, you're being disingenuous. You're a fraud.
Right.
You're fraud. You're fraudulent. You're putting people in danger.
Exactly.
You actually have the false confidence to believe they have actual combat skill, and they don't have it. That's different than empty-handed martial arts that get beat up a little bit, and you realize, oh shit, I don't know anything, I'm going to another school. You're talking about life or death, and that's a different responsibility from an instructor. And unfortunately, somehow they got that message from their instructors as well. So in some ways, it's hard to know where the responsibility lays. I mean,
right.
If a liar believes his own lie, is he lying? He actually believes it.
Right. That's his truth. It's his own truth.
He believes it. So is he lying? I mean, we can see it.
It's ignorance.
Well, sometimes we lie to ourselves a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can't afford that when you're dealing with it late.
Yeah.
Just can't afford
it. I'm excited. Well, 10 days, 9 days.
Yeah, heading to the Philippines, heading to Boracay, one of the 10 best beaches in the world. Walk outside your hotel room, right to the beach.
You better come back, Ernie.
Billy, next year that's gonna be a business trip for both of us.
Yeah, twice a year, holding twice a year.
So let's talk about that. So twice a year, right? You hold camps in Boracay, and it's open to anybody.
Open to anybody.
Anybody.
Been doing it for about 15 years. Now I'm bringing. Of course, COVID stopped for a while, but I've been holding one camp a year, and now we'll start with two again next year. So
okay,
right after Chinese New Year, like February, March, and November. Okay, best times of the year to come, and best time on the beach.
I cannot wait. I haven't been to the Philippines since I was 13. And I had fun when I was there, but now as an adult, I know I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to paradise. That place, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
And later, we'll start to hold camps in different areas. I mean, I used to take people to the Jungle Survival School in Subic Bay. The Aitas, the indigenous tribe members, are still there, a few of them, and that's an interesting experience for people. You take them out in the bush, so I do that frequently for groups. And I mean, the islands have so many things, so many different places to go and experience. It's really great.
What's a typical camp day?
It depends upon the makeup of the group, because I can drive you pretty hard. The purpose of it is so you're isolated, right? You're only worrying about training during that period of time, and you want to break up the training periods into 2-hour sessions so that you can train, rest, relax, train again, rest, relax, train again. You know, like we do seminars here all day. I mean, you know, you're going to get some mental and physical fatigue.
Yeah.
But you only have that time.
Yeah.
You got to cram it in.
I mean, you literally, all the hotels are along the beach. I mean, you literally walk out the door of your room and go to the beach. I mean, it's just right there. So very convenient. And that process, again, of short training periods and rest allows you to develop a phenomenal amount of skill. And you can see it. I mean, that's why we videotape everything, so people can see skill set in the beginning and at the end. But when you're isolated like that, immersed in immersion training, that's where you get the benefit. So it's pretty phenomenal. And after 7 days of run around on the sand, your legs will be like iron. I mean, everything's good, man. Everything's and the probably the best thing is that there's a lot of motivation around for you to look good. You know, people are always watching, and and they'll want to come up. They'll come up, take pictures, take video, and everything, and you immediately start performing better, no matter what. It's always a good thing.
That's like our Sundays or the days that we go train when we have a camp and we go out somewhere. It's got to be a high profile place.
Yeah.
So they see like. So our first camp here, we went to what is it? Jackson Square.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I thought for sure we were going to get kicked out. We did. Somebody did say something, but we just couldn't, because some of us started occupying the rest of the whole park, right?
Yeah.
Or we're just in one section. So, no, just stay in one section. Don't aggravate the other people.
Yep.
But yeah, man,
That was great.
I thought for sure somebody was going to say, dude, there's a bunch of guys swinging sticks at each other. Yeah.
People were taking pictures, videos. Yeah, they came there. Exactly.
That was fun. And then was it the second year? It rained.
Same thing.
That was still cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it ain't raining, we ain't training.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Ain't raining, ain't training.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, man. I 100%. So I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks, pretty much. I think we close for one of those weeks. It's gonna be Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I think it falls in. No, does it? It doesn't. Oh no. I come back on that week. I come back on that week. Yeah. So,
yep.
All you, dude. You're good.
I'm gonna put a little complaint number box, and that number's never gonna come up.
So, anything else, guys, you want to discuss in regards to Pekiti?
Appreciate your time. If you want to know more, go to ptk-smf.com.
Mm-hmm. Is that going to be the same address for the new site? You're just going to...
And I have another site as well,
like
an site.
Okay.
But we'll release that here pretty soon.
Okay, cool. And there is still, like, if you can't make it or you're not around an instructor, you can sign up for online training. Right? There's videos. There's a couple of tiers of it. Granted, it's not as good as being with somebody training, but you can get a good bit.
Well, you can get that base and foundation and then show up to one of the 2 camps per year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And find a local instructor, find one close.
Or you might become that local instructor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. 100%. If there's nobody there, hey, man.
We challenge you to do that.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. so the camps, it's usually it's instructor camps, but it's invited to anybody who wants to come on the last day, right? Or is it
Sometimes I open up to the local people.
right? The students of the students of the
Otherwise, you have to be part of the program.
right. Okay. Awesome. Well, guys, I hope we got a good bit of information out there and clarified anything. And I guess we didn't really clarify why you're an asshole.
We did. We said he's a Marine, sir.
Look, yeah, I really, I'm not known for my humor. I can tell you that, but I've been trying to develop it for a long time.
You smiled a little bit when we were talking about stabbing somebody. I saw it. I saw it come out.
Everybody thought I would look like a Fed. I did have a mustache for a long time, so I definitely look like.
I did like that look there in the old old videos here. My wife hated my mustache, and so I just grew everything out. As opposed to when we were where were we? You were there when I had accidentally shaved this, and this was growing. I looked like a Mormon.
You see, mine's the opposite. My wife hates all of it, so I grew it all out.
Yeah. We kind of do that at the same time.
I know. Huh?
My daughter hates it, but my wife wants it there. So I want to shave it, but it takes me months to grow.
Well, it's just
so it's like
so long. I was never allowed to. I mean, I was in junior ROTC in high school where I had to shave. Went straight into the Marine Corps, had to shave. For the longest, NOPD made us shave. And really, they finally let us have a little bit, but I'm kind of pushing it. But I'm not gonna shave it either.
Well, you're not interacting with anybody daily, right? Except police.
Yeah, police and the chief, because every use of force.
What I mean, the public. You're not really interacting with the public, so they should let you.
That's for the peasants.
All right, guys. Well, what I was going to say, you are in the U.S. half the time and Philippines half the time.
Yes.
If anybody wants to train with you when you're here, I guess it depends where you're at. But I know you're open to private training.
Private training
seminars, private training, corporate training.
Yes.
Right? Just check his website, check his Facebook. If you want to get in touch with him, give some more information, or any one of the instructors, we can, help you out. Blair's in Houston now.
Yes.
Houston, obviously me in New Orleans, but we have a lot of presence in Texas, a lot of good presence in Florida. I think we got one in Alabama, New York's heavily. Who's in California?
No one in California now, right?
Oh man, that's just
unfortunately.
Yeah,
knives might be illegal in California anyway.
But yeah, we lost a brother out there recently. Rest in peace. Yeah, real good guy. Yeah, just recently, last month.
Yeah, certainly.
We're all with other countries. I know we have Chile. What else was it? I remember seeing a guy. Is it Italy? There's a guy in Italy. Well, he's not SMF.
No,
but I know there's another guy. I know I always see him on the line talking with.
We got England,
full friends,
London. Michael Street. Yeah, he's a high-level Wing Chun practitioner as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Know some people in England. I have to tell them. I got family there. But yeah, man. So it was awesome. I'm glad you guys both got to come. Glad you got to come. I knew you were coming. And when you texted me, you said, "Hey, I'm coming." I was like, oh, "Hell yeah, this is awesome." Anytime, like I said, anytime you want to visit, in fact, so we're riding in a parade, in I think it's February. But I think there's an extra spot if you want to come. And it's wild, man. It's mostly younger people than me, right? And you guys would fit it.
Nice.
I don't participate that hard. I know you guys do. But anyway, thanks for coming. Like I said, if you have any questions, hit us up, ptks-smf.com. Also a new site coming out for Louisiana locals. You can go to either cyclonecombatives.com or nolapekiti.com. And you can find some information there. Also, we're also on YouTube. I think Tim has a page. You have a YouTube that you got information coming out? Tim has some stuff. Edge Combatives on YouTube for me and Instagram. But that's it, man. Get out there and train. If you're serious about your self-preservation, empty hands isn't doing enough. I mean, you can do it, but it's a disservice to yourself if you want to be serious about participation.
Yeah, I mean, you could be mounted on top of somebody all you want, but if they pull out a knife and stab you in the ribs,
Right? Yeah, that hurts a little bit. All right, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and don't forget to break fall.
Great fun.